take design seriously, well, then the DDR 2013 is the Mecca for you, taking place in Kumasi, hosted by the KNUST. I've got the Vice Dean of the Faculty of Art in the studio with me, Nana Afia Opoku Asari. Good morning and welcome, madam. Ladies first, of course, and then visitors. We've got the Dean of Informatics and Design, all the way from South Africa, CPUT, Professor Yanis Kronya. Good morning and welcome, and organizer Eddie Appiah. Kudos, congratulations. This is a big thing, greatly appreciated. I'm very glad to find out that it's taking place in Kumasi, not in Accra. So I think it's a wonderful thing. Welcome to Ghana, and welcome to Sunrise.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is the third. This is the third edition of this conference. What were the outcomes of the previous two, and what do you expect from this one, Eddie?
Right. Thank you very much. First of all, I had the privilege of being part of the first two, which was initiated, of course, by Professor Kronya when I was in Cape Town. And the outcome of the first two gave an indication that, at least if we push design in its form as probably what advanced countries or developed countries have been doing, it is possible for us to have a platform where we can have an inclusive design or all-inclusive design to solve most of the things, the challenges that are coming. And so I realized that, well, it's possible to also bring the issue back home here. And so after having the chance of being part of the first and second edition, and since the conference is more or less an international one, I discussed with Prof. and he says, fine, we can move it to Ghana. And that is how come we brought it here. Of course, it was being hijacked by those guys in Botswana, but we said no, we want to come bring it here rather, and that is the reason why we
great nice. And Professor Kronya, you are one of the keynote speakers.
Correct.
What are you going to be sharing with the audience?
My topic is going to be Design 3.0.
Design
3.0. So I must take you back. Our faculty is both informatics, which is computer sciences, and design. And how do we put the two together? Because what's happening at the moment is that computers and other things are beginning to merge. So if you look at your cell phone, it's no longer a telephone, it's a computer that can also phone. And by the same token, some fridges are getting brains so that they can tell you whether they have food in them or not. And so that has some implications for design. And what I'll be talking about is how, where the internet started as Web 1.0, which was a way of companies to give information. It then went to Web 2.0, which was a way of us as users to give information. And then it's become Web 3.0, where the information itself is beginning to know what it is. You'll know that if you type a string into Google, as you type, so Google is already reading your mind and knows what you're going to do next because it looks at other people. Now, what does that? What implications does that have for the rest of things? If things actually already know what they are and where they are, then the way in which we live is going to change radically, because Google only knows that I'm looking for something because it knows that thousands of other people are also looking for it. And so that's what I'm bringing to the conference, is how must we redesign the way we think based on the fact that the things around us are also thinking.
Oh, interesting thought. How must we redesign the way we think? And I think that fits right into the theme for the event, for the conference, Design Complexities for Development. What are the design complexities for development, looking at it from the gender perspective?
Oh, you want to go gender?
Yes, I want to go gender. I've got a gender agenda.
All right.
Especially for informatics and design.
Yes. We are men, we are women. Both of us are working, and we are dealing with issues. We are dealing with life. We are looking at what is available, what is not available, and trying to see where do we fit in for those that are not available. Design in itself is creativity. It's ingenuity. It's innovation. How do we do it? How do men do things, and how do women do things? How do we blend so that we have a complete design for the world? For me, it's very simple. Go ahead.
I need to add to that. There's something amazing. I did some research some years ago and looked at what do winning schools have in common. And I just had a look at when principals of winning schools share their things. And one of the key things that winning schools have in common, apart from the fact that they make their learners researchers, is that they have an active focus on the development of women children. And I found that quite interesting, and I thought, why an active focus on the development of women children? And then in my field, which is computers and education, remember, computers are the shiny toys. And what I found is that in the schools and the environments where I worked, the shiny toys tend to be played with by the boys first.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. That's it.
And so what needs to happen is we
Playing
actually
with a tool as if it were a toy,
Yeah.
and mostly boys.
Yeah, and then
Yes.
what we need to do is we need to give the girls an opportunity to play with those toys, because very often they
Thank
can
you.
play with it better.
Sure.
Exactly.
Sure.
And now the women are playing football. And it's amazing how they do it.
Yeah.
You know, the feminine touch to it.
I thought you'd say we.
I'm talking about them. I don't.
The ones that
I don't play
the ones that
football.
don't play the ones that don't play football. You represent.
I
that.
don't play football.
Okay.
But you know, it's not a technical thing. It's the way you do it. And the amazing thing with women and girls is that they look out for the fine details, and that's what is lacking. So if you have this tiny toy and you pull it apart, you can carefully put the small bits together, and that's the thing that the women and girls do.
Okay, I have a question that interests me greatly. I'd like to split it, three ways. Basically, it's this: which field of design thrives the most currently in Africa, in Ghana, say in South Africa, in Ghana, and which is projected to be the most valuable, the most prosperity generating in the foreseeable future, 5 to 10 years? Because I see here you've got architects, you've got graphic designers, engineers, computer scientists, instructional designers. Are those the people that write the manuals for how to use things?
Exactly.
That's a very important design, because some of the manuals you can't understand. You read them, you wonder who designed them or who translated them, and other design fields in South Africa. Starting with you, Prof. Which is the most popular design field? Is it architecture? Is it instruction manuals? Or is it graphic design?
Can I answer another question? I prefer to answer my own question, which is
Okay.
which is the most important emergent design? Where are we going with design? I think at
Okay,
the
5
moment.
to 10 years. That'll be the second
Yeah.
part of my question.
Oh, okay. Well, then at the moment, I guess the biggest one is graphic design. End of
Graphic design.
answer.
Yeah.
More answers.
And in
When
5
you
to
get
10
the
years?
5 to 10 years. Here's the new one.
Yes.
It's called service design.
Service design.
Service design, which is how do we look at what the problem is that people have, and how do we wrap a solution around that?
Sure.
Now let's look, for instance, at a problem that all of us have where there are human settlements that happen quickly, which is the removal of solid waste. So how do we get the rubbish removed from these people? Because they've built their houses too close together, we can't get a lorry in between.
Sure.
So that's the problem of a town and regional planner. But what vehicle do we use? That's the problem of an industrial designer. But how do we encourage the people to use that? That's the problem of a visual designer, etc., etc. So what we're beginning to see now is a field of design called service design, where we start off by saying what is the problem, what are the facets of the problem, and then it unpacks itself. And then some people will come in with one. You know, what we find in people is that we train somebody to be an architect, and they end up making furniture, which is strictly speaking an industrial design thing. We train people to be graphic designers. They end up making.
designed one of the best chairs in the
An
world.
architect designs chairs. Exactly.
Sure.
And so people do not do what we train them to do, which makes me think, but we're training them wrong. If I train somebody to be an architect and they end up becoming chair designers, maybe I should train them to be a designer.
Sure.
And then whatever they design, they're doing the right thing.
Sure.
I'd love a Le Corbusier chair, by the way. So if you can pull some strings.
If I
for me.
find one, I'll give it to you.
Okay.
Maybe to add to
Okay.
that, you mentioned the theme, which is
Design
complexities for design.
For development.
And we are looking at inclusiveness, universal design. And as Prof said, if we train ourselves to be designers, we will not be looking at what is the next step of design, because you already have the design imbibed in your system. You want to look at the end right from the beginning. And as he's talking about, if you look at surface design, and we are trained at surface design, then when you start, you know who you are linking with, and you know how that link will lead you to. And that is the issue we are discussing, or we want to discuss there. We want to bring everybody together, inclusiveness.
You want everybody together?
Sure.
Okay, well that's nice, but I want to find out from you, madam, which is the most vibrant field. And I see you've got comm design, communication design, you've got general art studies, industrial art, you've got integrated rural art and industry, painting and sculpture, and publishing studies. Where is the money now? Where is it going to be 5 to 10 years from now in Ghana?
Good gracious, creativity is selling in all fronts. That's the basic issue of design. How do we put our minds to solve the problems with the little things that we have? So if you go to the car park now, you realize that cars are parked this way, straight or parallel. How do we get ourselves out of, the parking, strict parking? So we've got to learn how to park our cars. We have to learn how to make our cars fit in. So we've got big cars, we've got small cars. If I have my clothes, how do I design? Look at my form and design my clothes. So I wear the garment, my clothes fit me well, and they look, real on me, not the ones on the catwalk. But even on the catwalk, you can transform those designs on the platform to wearable designs. If you are design conscious, if you know where to put this and that, you can dismantle and rearrange, and that's creativity. That's the essence of everything else. In building, we have a high rise, and we are saying high rise here, high rise there. What about the low rise down there? How does, the high rise relate to the low rise? How do our streets, our drains, our markets, the installation of the tomatoes and the display of fabrics and all that, the carving of the drums. I see that drum, it's not just a drum, it's an art piece. It's a creative thing, composite with leather, with fabric, with wood, integrated. One thing, and it gives you sound. So it's a composite kind of story we are trying to tell, and everyone has a part to play in it, because we are all using the same things. But how we use them, how you give it to me, that the service, how do you package it to make it presentable to me, so I'll love it and I'll use it, I won't throw it away. That's all about design. Look at your clothes, look at the combination of colors. There's this yellow, there are the dots, there are the lines, there are the shapes, and it blends with the solid brown and with your white, it transforms you. So how do we do that? So that it fits in.
How? Well, I have a simpler one for you, Prof. What is the relationship between communal design, group design, and the individual design? And when it comes to African design that's recognized globally, in Ghana, we have two internationally recognized design products. One is our traditional fabric, kente. Yes. The other one is a little bit more recent, of dubious origin. It's called Ghana Must Go. Both have featured internationally on the international scene. And it's difficult to put your finger on who designed which, and who coined which brand or which term. And so I want to ask you this again: what's more important to us in Africa? Is it the individual designer or the community?
Okay,
heritage.
I think you almost answered your own previous question there.
I did?
Which is, your earlier question was, if I'm going to send my child to university, which discipline must they study to become the richest? And the answer is, they must study the one that best suits their brains, because design sits between your ears. It does not sit in your fingers or in your hands in what you mold or so. It sits in here. So that answers the next question. Is it the large design house that's going to make the lots of money, or is it the tiny person? No, what's going to make the lots of money is the idea that is followed through. Sure. So it doesn't matter that you get a really cool idea and it dies on your floor because you don't have the guts to make it happen. And it doesn't matter that you're a large company with a lot of success and you don't have two ideas to rub together. So it's when you make that connection. And so what we're sitting with is, on the one hand, Google or Facebook, which is big, and on the other hand, we have little apps It's the same thing. We have an individual, we have a large design house, but that design house may be reliant very much on a small, unknown little person who's giving it a whole lot of thinking. And that person may find that it's very useful for him or her to be involved with a big design house, because you can then use the clout of the design house to make your stuff happen. On the other hand, you may find somebody who says, "Do you know what, I can get away by just doing it myself," but it's all between my ears. It's what my ears are telling me. My ears, what's sitting behind my ears may tell me, "Go do it alone because you do it really well," or what's sitting between my ears might tell you, "Hang your coat on a big tree because then you can go with where the big tree goes." So it's the mindset, it's the thinking of how we design our futures.
How we design our futures, are we designing them constantly? Since King Garte designed the Kaaba, since the KVIP was designed in the KNUST, how much improvement have we seen and why?
That's the issue. That really is the issue. How much are we thinking of these things so that we can improve upon them? The KVIP has been there. Who uses it now? So developments are coming. Now we have a lot of imports. Water closets of all types, faucets, whatever. But we've forgotten that we also had a ceramic factory in here that was producing, designed, and our own products. I attended, an industrial attachment with the ceramic factory, and I was doing ceramics. But now, ask me, where is it? So how do we put it together? Even with the imports, how do we place them?
We take out
with
the
the
water,
designs,
first of all,
and it's an art
think
piece.
about dry toilets.
It's an art piece.
Exactly.
Sure.
Exactly. So what do you do with it? How do you position it? When the house is designed, entrances, how do you make it beautiful? It depends on who is doing what. It depends on what you are thinking of. You ask, the Kente weaver doesn't do anything on paper. He sits on the loom. And immediately, the ingenuity, the creativity comes out with a product. How do they do it? People learn to do it. And when they do one thing, they add another thing. They add another thing. They change colors. They change positions. They do all sorts of things. And now we have new versions of Kente designs. And they are all Kente, authentic. They are woven. If it's printed, you can tell the difference. But the print even came out of the woven. The pattern was laid down on the loom. The weaver did it with the yarn, with the accessories on the loom. It came out as a product. Somebody else picks it, scans it, puts it on paper, and generates the print. It looks Kente, but that's not authentic Kente. That's not it. The actual thing, you can tell it from the duplicate.
We've touched on almost everything except shelter, architecture.
Yes.
Architecture, Mr. Ediapia, talk to me about architectural design in Ghana and what outcomes you think might result from DDR 2013.
Right, okay. And if you look at our program, we are talking of all-inclusive designing, and that includes architecture. And we are saying there are a whole lot of developments that we can put across when we put ourselves together as design. Incidentally, one of the problems that we have in Ghana is the disjointment of designers. That is the disjointment, and that probably doesn't help in the development of the society. I was just walking around yesterday, and I look at the way we are destroying the cities. Now you look at planning being thrown overboard.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of sitting back to look at how architecturally we are designing our cities. And I think these are the things that we'll be discussing at the conference, to see how best do we put our ideas together. How do the architect meet the planner and the visual designer to generate the whole concept of surface design, or more or less built environment. Because we are looking, you talk about 10 to 15 years. We are not looking now. We are looking in the future. How do we plan our cities in the next 20, 25 years? It's for us as designers to look beyond it and coordinate our ideas and come out with the best. And that is what we'll be talking about, we'll be looking at in the conference.
If I can add something here.
Absolutely.
Architects design their homes, their houses. The people construct the houses. And then it comes to decoration, in quotes. If I've got a sculpture piece, where do I put it? Okay, put it there. It doesn't. The artist comes in and say, no. It should fit in here. So the designing of the space should, be done with the visual artist in mind, so that the visual artist can say, this will be a good location for a 3-dimensional piece. This will be a good location for a 2-dimensional piece. And then the design, interior design, we call it, it's a field in itself. It doesn't come in, there's no integration. And the integration in design makes it complete, so that you look at a house, it's not just a building, it's a design inside and outside. Look at our lawns. We don't have lawns anymore. What are we doing? We decorate our homes, but the outsides are different. We need to do things in an integrated manner.
Integrating space and place. Well, if you're interested in design of any sort, then both the space and the place are in Kumasi. KNUST School of Innovative Design.